Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Starbreaker X back here with another video. And today's video is what if Deku was in a quirk marriage? And like go for the part two of this video. We'll like go for like a part two if y'all want a part two for this. Like on this video is one like. All right, so it should be pretty easy to hit. And also, don't forget to subscribe because I'm really trying to hit 40 subscribers off of this video or the next video. So yeah, just go ahead and subscribe. I mean, you know, you won't, and like click that notification bell so you won't miss out on any of my videos. But without further ado, let's get on with the what if. This what if starts when Sasha Midoriya loses his job as a hero. He wasn't fighting enough villains for his hero agency, so they felt like as if he wasn't a use to them. Even though he had tons of power, his powers being the manipulation of metal, earth, lightning, and wind, they he wasn't like capturing enough not heroes, villains. So he was kicked out of the agency, therefore losing his job. Inko had also lost her job, which was at a restaurant because there was someone that was younger than her and faster than her that could work better than her and could get paid less. So by the both of them losing their jobs, they were scrambling for money to try to support their household and their 3-year-old son, Izuku Midoriya. Let's fast forward about a year. Inko, Hisashi, and Izuku are all just are struggling to make it. They eat every other day, and also they are homeless. Endeavor sees Hisashi Midoriya, and then he remembers that he had lost his job about a year back, and he knew where his family was staying on the streets. So then he offered, I know your son is gonna have a lot of power. Considering your considering your quirk and your wife's quirk, which is the and Inko's quirk is the ability to control water, wood, rubber, and plastic. And then Endeavor continues to speak. He says, considering your wife's power and your power, that means that your son should end up with those powers. So I would like to propose something. My daughter, Shota Todoroki, could be in a quirk marriage with your son, Izuku Midoriya. And then Hazashi says, I'm gonna talk to my wife about your offer. But in the meantime, we're still like thinking about if a yes, no, or maybe. And then Endeavor thinks to himself, my daughter is gonna have the strongest kids in the world, and they're all gonna be on the top, or on the top 10 hero list. And then when Hizashi gets home, he breaks the news to Inko that Endeavor stopped him and asked him if he wanted to make Izuku and Shota do a quirk marriage. Inko had thought over it for a while, and Hizashi had also thought over it for a while, but they came to the conclusion that their family needed money right now, and even if if Deku didn't want to do it, then they would all probably die soon. So they accept the offer. Endeavor and the Midoriyas all periodically, um, like visit the Todoroki household. Izuku gets familiar with Shota and her siblings, but he still calls her Todoroki, as to be formal. One time, when Deku and Shota are playing, they accidentally bump heads and kiss. Shota is flustered, and as well as Izuku. So they each run to both of the bathrooms in the house, and they start washing their mouths out because at this point they don't have like a romantic relationship, but they know that they're supposed to get married soon. So Izuku then thinks, I should probably get over it. We're probably going to be doing that a lot. And then Shota, it still takes her a little time to like get over the fact that she's going to get married to Izuku. So when Deku left, he winked at Shota. He said, "Bye, Shota," without saying her last name, Todoroki. Shota knew something was up about that, and she felt like that Deku actually liked her. And then when Deku got home, he thought about Shota all night. He couldn't sleep. The day after, he wouldn't eat either. And then Inko asks, Izuku, is he in love with someone? And then Deku says, "What's love?" And then Inko explains it further. And then Deku says, "Oh, okay, so that's what that is." And then Deku says, "I wouldn't say I love her, but I sort of like her." One day at elementary school, Katsuki Bakugo had noticed that Shota Todoroki and Izuku Midoriya had been hanging out a lot recently. So he wanted to play a little prank on them. He made sure that Shota and Deku were walking beside each other. Well, not beside each other, behind each other in the line, going back to their classrooms for lunch. And then Katsuki Bakugo got both of their attention, and they looked at him, and then he smashed their heads together, making them kiss. And then, like you said, what did you do that for? It's not cool, jerk. And then Bakugo then says, Izuku, Izuku and Shota kissed. Izuku and Shota kissed. And then the whole class starts laughing at them. And then Deku runs to the bathroom, startled and embarrassed. Shota does the same. But to avoid the embarrassment, they both come out the bathrooms and say, "We're a couple." And then to everyone's surprise, they kiss right in front of all of them. Let's fast forward to about the time that Deku is graduating from middle school. Him and Shota are sitting in the classroom, as well as Bakugo. And the teacher is going out of the classroom, going to get um, job applications for the students for what they might want to do after school when they get to high school. The teacher then comes back and says, "Who needs these? I know all y'all want to be heroes and want to go to UA." And then the class starts using their weird, like all the kids in the class start using their weird quirks. And then he says, "Katsuki Bakugo, I heard that you wanted to go to UA." And then it's then Deku, and then he looks over to Deku and Shota, which have their who have their desks really really close to each other. And Deku has his arm around Shota. He says, "You two love birds. You both got into UA off of a recommendation. I'm proud of y'all." And then Bakugo looks angry. He says, "Off a recommendation? Those two? What do you mean? They're useless. I'm way better than the both of them." He's starting his superiority complex and his inferiority complex are starting to clash. And then he then says, "Whatever. I'm going to the restroom." And then Deku says, "Can I go as well?" And then the teacher allows it. When they get to the bathroom, Deku tries to calm Bakugo down, but he hits him with an explosion. Deku then runs some water, and then he also collects the rest of the water that he wants to use from the air. It is a little yellowish from the pee that's in the bathroom that got in air through the mist, but he didn't care. That was gonna make it sting even more due to the salt content in urine. He then forces he then forms icicles, like tiny little shards of ice, and then he starts throwing them at Bakugo. Bakugo explodes each one of them, now having evolved this quirk, so he could use explosions on each one of his fingertips. He could also use explosions from the bases of his feet. He then launches explosions from his feet, and then he jumps in the air and breaks out the small window that's like at at the like left wall of the bathroom, but it's like at like the top, so like I know some bathrooms that have those. And then Bakugo starts flying around, and he says, "You can't catch me. You're too weak. You only have that little water quirk of yours." And then Deku then says, "Are you sure?" Paper and dirt start to fly around him. Then it starts to create a tornado, and then Deku flies out. Deku flies out the window. It's the same as Bakugo did. And then Deku says, "I don't know if this is the only quirk that I have, but I know that I at least have two quirks. This should be enough." Deku, not knowing that he was put in a quirk marriage just because he had the ability, of water, and then and also wind. Actually, contradicts what I just said. He didn't know that he had a wind quirk, but he had like activated it, trying to jump out the window with his water quirk. Trying to create a tornado of water. So then he says, "I wonder what else that he says. I wonder what else I could do." Then he starts to collect moisture in the air, and then he starts to disperse it just a little bit to create rain clouds. He starts to form a mist around himself, but he gets sucked in with the air, with the wind that's twirling around him. He then jumps at Bakugo, and then he throws a punch at him, and a metal sheet off the roof of the building, off the roof of his school, flies at him. He says, "So I can control metal too? This is amazing." And then a lightning bolt also strikes down from the clouds that he had made. He then looks up and he says, "I think I can manipulate things in nature." Unknowing that it's a certain limit to all the things that he could control. And then he lifts his hand up in the air as if trying to grab something, and the lightning bolt strikes right into his hand, and he's holding it. And then he kind of makes a thunderbolt like Zeus, like Zeus's thunderbolts, and then he throws it at Bakugo. Bakugo dodges all of them, and then he says, "How many quirks does he have? Or is it just a singular quirk from his parents?" Then the whole class is watching in awe. The principal told like all the administrators just to let them fight. They could get noticed by UA, and Bakugo could also get off getting UA based off of his recommendation because of his fight with Deku. Deku then forms a fireball in his hand as if trying to charge up power like he had saw in Dragon Ball Z. He says, "I can control fire too." Deku has an unknown power known as Ether. He can control the mind and body and souls of people. He also had gotten extra DNA from Shota Todoroki when they had kissed. So he acquired her quirk. And Deku then remembered that he had made the water form into ice. So then he says, so I have shape manipulation. And then another lightning bolt tries to strike Deku. He dodges it, and then he tries to make it liquid. And then when the lightning bolt doesn't do it, he says he thinks to himself, so it really is her quirk. And then Deku says, whatever, I'm gonna I'm gonna beat you with my own power, Bakugo. Then he makes an ice ball and a fireball in his hand. Then he says, I can't risk it, right? I can't risk it right now. Bakugo then taunts, I thought you were gonna use your own power. That's that's the end of the What If by Starbreakers.